So you already know that Courtney Stodden was 16 when they married their husband. And you already know that Courtney's mom, Krista, fell in love with their husband. And if you watched my last recap, you know that Krista also was attracted to Courtney's 17-year-old boyfriend when Courtney was 12. So by now you know all that. But the fact that Dr. Deb is going to have them yet again participate in another exercise that the rest of the group is doing about resentment, what do they have resentments about, is insane. Because when the other people have resentments, when the other moms and daughters have resentments, it's like mom-daughter resentments. This Courtney and Krista, this isn't something that's going to get resolved through therapy on this television show. And Dr. Deb, I don't even know, is Dr. Deb even a doctor? Like these, I don't know what network actually this show aired originally on. I'm going to guess VH1 because VH1 like to do all of those shows, like couples retreat or couples therapy or whatever the hell. So it feels very VH1-y. And there's another therapist that likes to do all those shows. The same therapist that Erica Jane had, and Erica Jane was doing those sessions with on Beverly Hills. So that doctor is still out there pretending to be a doctor. But Dr. Deb, you are no therapist I'd want to see. I'll tell you that. Okay, so if you are not aware of what I'm doing right now, I am covering the Mother-Daughter Experiment Celebrity Edition on Hulu. Now, it's now streaming on Hulu, which is how I finally got to watch it from start to finish. And it's a wild ride, completely exploitative, absolutely problematic, but oh, so good. So if you can, go watch it. But also know that it's going to be disturbing. But, watch it. But yeah, let's get into episode 2. So we picked up on the same fight that was happening with Krista and their mom. I'm sorry, Courtney and their mom. Krista's the mom, Courtney and Krista. But now, so therapy's over. This is like, the end of the night for them. And Jessica, who's there with her daughter, is drinking up a storm with Heidi and Natalie. And it's not like Josie doesn't mind. Josie minds. Her daughter minds. And Josie comes in and she goes, "Are they pressuring you to drink?" And Natalie goes, "Oh, whatever." And they're like, "Ew, boo, boo." Natalie's like, "I think Jessica has way more fun than Josie." Okay, well, she's a kid. Jessica joins in with Natalie and Heidi being like, "Boo, Josie sucks." Boo. Josie goes to the room and Jessica goes to check on her. And Jessica's interview soundbite is, I just want to get in there and let's get this over with, Josie. And then Josie's crying in the room, and Jessica, you see it from behind the door. Jessica goes, "Do you need to take a Xanax?" That sounds about right. That tracks. That is on brand with what I would imagine would be your version of parenting. Jessica then goes into the hall and is laughing with Natalie and Heidi. Josie's crying. "Ugh, I don't want to be the mom this time. Where's my mom?" Thank God Kim Richards comes out and goes, "Get off the floor. You are not the daughter. You're the mother. Get her, Kim." Josie goes outside to call her boyfriend and cry and be like, "My mom's just fucking drinking and making fun of me for not wanting her to drink and whatever." But then Jessica sneaks up on her. And then Josie's like, "Go away. Get away from me." And Jessica goes, "I tried." Okay. Back inside, Heidi and Natalie are like, "Why is everyone mad at us? It's because we're having so much fun." They're really, I guess they're just giving reality TV gold. They're probably just doing what they are trained to do, which is be the bad girls at this point. But Natalie and Heidi, they are just, they're so problematic. But they go and chat on the side, just the two of them, about how crazy the Courtney Krista situation is. but also that they are obsessed with it. And unfortunately, back at that time, I get that all of these people should have been stopping and realizing what's going on, but somehow if the narrative's being painted to you in the way it's being painted, it's drama. And like, they're like, we think we're bad with our moms. Nope. At the next group session the next day, resentment is the theme. And what they all have sacks and like a Santa sack, and it's got an item in there that represents what they missed out on all these years. Courtney has 2 empty champagne flutes because their mom missed their 21st birthday. And they woke up to press and media interviews that their mom did about how she didn't agree with the direction their career was going, and on about the husband. Courtney cries and is like, I'm just waiting for an apology. Krista is forced to apologize, right? She goes, I'm sorry about that. I didn't give any interviews on your birthday. I didn't give any interviews the day before your birthday. I think it was maybe like 2.5 weeks before your birthday. I can't control when the interviews get released. You guys. Dr. Deb's, because Dr. Deb thinks that like this will help. She goes, you're getting caught up in the details. That's it. That's the problem. Then Deb goes, okay, Krista, what's in your bag? And they cut to Natalie and her mom's interview, and they're like, oh, this is going to be good. Krista pulls out her like talent management company, like invitation to an event or something. And she's like, Courtney, I just wish you had been there. We did this Rick James tribute. We did this cool concert at the Viper Room, and I would have loved for you to come. Courtney's like, I would have loved to go, and I would love for that. I would love for that. But like, is also confused as to what this is like being like, how was it this something like you missed out on? But then Krista explains, it goes, I would love for you to meet, the people in my talent agency. They love you. They're fans of yours. American Idol finalist. She's going to be on America's Got Talent. These are really great people that admire you. Dr. Deb goes, okay, Krista, but what is it that you missed out on? And Krista goes, this was important to me. I wish you would have been there. Literally, Dr. Deb's like, okay, we're going to move on. Why? Okay. All right, they move on to Shar and Cassie. Shar guilt trips Cassie about Thanksgiving, but Cassie was spending it with her boyfriend's family, and everyone's kind of like, Shar, you're being too tough on her. Kim and Kimberly, though, when it's their turn, they have nothing in their sacks. Kimberly goes, I really could not think of a time that she hasn't dropped everything and been there. And Kim goes, for me, when I try to think of something, I couldn't think of one time that I've ever been hurt because you've always been there. Dr. Deb is like, listen, it is impossible to never let someone down. And that's the prototype that you have given. And I think that it's really hurt you. Talking about Kim. Kim goes, there's been a lot going on for me at home with some things, and I've been worrying about her. So Kim goes, well, there's been a lot going on for me at home with some things, and I've been worrying about her. So now I'm emotional. And if I'm walking out of the hospital and she's finally called me back, she's going to hear that like in my voice. So I go, oh, Kimberly. Kimberly goes, not only am I super overwhelmed over here, but you call me and you're quivering and you're upset and you're this. And I'm like, I almost don't want to hear it because there's nothing I can do about it. I feel like I'm carrying 2 weights, you know? And then you don't tell me things and I don't know. And Kim goes, that's where I go wrong. I should just tell you because I try not to cry. And then she starts sobbing. And Dr. Deb goes, your mom has some real stuff going on and she's going to be sad sometimes. And it doesn't mean you have to rescue her. And Kimberly's like, okay. I'm like, this is so heavy. This is so heavy because they still have yet to actually say that Kim is dealing with a substance issue. They did all of that and didn't say drinking, which is kind of nuts. Josie and Jessica go. Josie pulls out pom-poms and how she wished her mom had been there like the other moms were at Cheer Lady. Natalie and Karen. Natalie has a VIP pass because she felt alone and like her mom missed out on everything that was fun in her life because she was taking care of her grandma. And Karen seems to very lovingly apologize and says she'll be there for her now. Okay, that seems promising. Heidi and Darlene. Heidi brings her wedding veil because they got in a fight at her wedding. And Darlene goes, well, you kept saying this isn't a wedding, it's a TV show, but I wanted it to be more. Heidi's crying and instantly all of her eye makeup is just everywhere. It was impressive how it just got all over her face almost instantly. I don't know if they really resolved anything in this moment, though. It was just a lot of crying. The editing is very strange. The editing, it's like right when they're kind of about to say something important, they just are like, we need to move on for whatever reason. So then after the session, they sit around the dining table. And Krista goes, Doug actually asked me out first, and I was married, so I said no. Oh, okay. Courtney goes, over the course of 6 or 7 months, my husband and I started falling for each other. I mean, yeah, it was like, what the fuck? I'm 16, he's 50. It's crazy. Natalie then looks to Krista and goes, but you were okay with it, right? And Krista goes, this one, meaning Courtney, needs someone to take care of her. It's exhausting picking up the room after her. And then like tries to joke about it. Like even now it's really exhausting, like even here. So do you see, like you didn't want to just do basic caring for your daughter? That's not that big of a, by the way, as a kid and their mom picking up after them, those aren't needs that their partner needs to be meeting. Okay, it's like, I can't. Krista. The next exercise is Dr. Deb tapping into fame and resentment by doing mock interviews where they will be getting asked about headlines about the famous one. So Krista is asked about selling stories, and she denies it, even though literally an hour before she admitted it, which is interesting because like they're all like watching the interviews that they do, like those who aren't on the panel doing like the fake press conference or watching on a monitor. And Courtney's like, didn't she just admit to talking to people 2.5 weeks before my birthday and doing an interview? They're like, yeah, she sure did. She sure did. Karen is asked what people say to her when they find out she's Natalie's mom. And she's like, oh, yeah, just like, wow, you're Natalie's mom. Oh, she's ugly. She has a long chin. She's a brawler. Oh, you don't need to say all that. You're doing an interview. You don't need to say it like that, Natalie. Or Karen, sorry. Cassie gets a headline of her mom that says, Shar Jackson gained all this weight after Kevin Federline left her. And the interviewer asked if Cassie ever got teased during that time. And she's like, yeah. And it was also crazy because Brittany was like my idol because I was 13, 12, whatever. And it was like, my idol is destroying my life. Now, it's a very interesting perspective to get this way. Obviously, Kevin Federline's a piece of shit. But interesting to hear Shar Jackson's and Shar's daughter's version of this. Darlene Heidi's mom is presented with the headline that says, Heidi Montag is obsessed with being perfect. And Darlene goes, I think there's some truth to that. Heidi's like, Mom. But Heidi, though, what else are you? If you're not obsessed with being perfect physically or whatever, well, why would you be getting all this plastic surgery? Like, know thyself. Jessica is asked to comment on the headline about Josie getting a DUI, and she's like, no comment. Josie comes all the way out. She's like walking through the whole house like, Mom. And she's like, it's okay, Mom. It's out there. And so all Jessica does is go, well, yeah, she got a DUI. Kimberly gets the headline about Kim going into rehab. And while Kimberly is answering, Kim is like shaking her head. And I think Kim had told production, I don't want you guys to bring that up. I really do, because Kim thinks she can control that. And they're like, this ain't Bravo. We're going to talk about it. We're trashy. This is just one season. We're not going to have you back. So we don't care if you're mad. Kim then admits to the people that are watching the footage. She's like, yes, I was in rehab. They're like, we know. We've been waiting for you to talk about it. Jesus Christ. The fastest sounding car just drove by. I live on a pretty busy street. And sometimes the speed people go, I'm like, you're like, literally someone's going to die. That just made my hair stand up. Ugh, God. One day it's going to be a crash that I hear. It's horrible. Dr. Deb is like, okay, guys, I hope you see how much your fame affects them. And Courtney's like, okay, listen, I really wish I could say I'm getting something out of this. I'm just not. I think that my situation is a little bit different than everybody else's. And I'm like screaming at the television, like, because it is. And Dr. Deb is like, we'll work on it. No. Unfortunately, though, Courtney is so upset, rightfully so upset that she cannot stop, or they cannot stop puking. But now guess what Krista's going to do? Oh, now Krista's going to be all concerned. This bitch calls the fucking paramedics. But Dr. Deb was like summoned to the room and comes in to check on her. And she's like, I think this is more, emotional stuff. And I think that like maybe that's what this is. But Chris has already fucking called the goddamn paramedics and just all frantic and calling 911. And maybe you're pregnant. Are you maybe you're pregnant? Is that it? Maybe? And then she's like, now I'm having sympathy sickness. Oh God, now I'm having sympathy sickness. I am. Enter the paramedics. Now, this is technically the end of episode 2, but I'm going to just go straight into episode 3, even though I said I would do these all individually, because there just wasn't enough meat, which is crazy to say that there wasn't enough meat in all that. Anyone have any travel plans coming up? I have got a cute trip to New York planned. And whenever I plan a trip, I always, of course, plan on what am I going to wear. And you know that I need all the things because my wardrobe is full of things that either don't fit or are just old and sad. But that's why I love Quince, because it's my go-to for high quality vacation essentials, like the premium European linen dresses, or the blouses and the shorts from $30, washable silk tops, premium luggage options, and so much more. And this is the best part about Quince. All items are priced 50 to 80% lower than similar brands. And they do this by partnering directly with factories. So they cut out the cost of the middleman and they pass those savings right on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. That's very important. They also only work with factories that use premium fabrics and finishes. I love that. I'm about to buy some of the luggage because, as you know, I've talked about the purse I got from Quince that became my entire personality, and I've got my eye on some of their luggage. Pack your bags with high-quality essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/shespeaks for free shipping on your first order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/shespeaks to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/shespeaks. Live Strong says to get into summer shape, start now, diet, exercise, and don't expect to lose any belly fat for up to 2 months. So basically, no swimsuit this summer. It is your choice. Weeks or months of calorie counting and boot camp gyms, or lose the fat and inches in one single visit to Sono Bello. Sono Bello is the only way to permanently lose fat and inches. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal. That is a faster, comfortable one visit technique. Wherever you have stubborn fat, so like your tummy, your sides, your thighs, your arms, or you have like loose, sagging, jiggly skin, smile because it's gone permanently. Sonobello gives you your curves back. No more feeling embarrassed or shy or uncomfortable or hiding behind baggy clothes instead of shorts and a t-shirt because, summertime's coming up. Give yourself the gift of a full body reset. Learn about one visit micro laser fat removal. Schedule your free consultation. Ask about Sonobello's spectacular summer savings going on now, too. Visit sonobello.com/she speaks. That's SONOBELLO.com/she speaks. Make sure you check out those savings, guys. So the paramedics arrive, and I feel like it's just out of an abundance of caution that they take Courtney on a fucking stretcher to the hospital. And she's released and she's fine. And Krista, like, none of them are buying Krista's act, especially not Natalie. Natalie's like, oh, now you're all concerned. You didn't give a fuck about this the other day, so be quiet. Anyway, that gets resolved. In the next group session, it's about times you felt taken for granted. This is where Shar kind of shows her ass a little bit. Char's like, I took Cassie to see Brittany, even though I was in so much pain. And Cassie's like, okay, but I didn't even ask for that. You just surprised me with the tickets. And Char's like, but what you should have said is, Mom, don't worry about it. We don't have to go. And Cassie goes, I was 14. Like, if your mom or dad gets you tickets to Disneyland, you're not going to say no. And Char goes, missing the point completely. Char goes, well, nobody dated Mickey Mouse, so we're good there. I'm like, oh, no, that's not it. That's not it at all. Not great. Courtney's up, tells Krista that when she wanted to get into the entertainment business, that's when almost like her mom got really excited. And Krista doesn't get what this exercise is. Shocker. And she starts to go on and on about the Courtney Stodden talk show. I worked really hard on the Courtney Stodden talk show. That's where you started your career, but you don't want me to talk about that. Now, I got some tea on what the Courtney Stodden talk show was, and it was like a show that Krista helped produce for Courtney. But according to Troy from Beyond the Blinds, because he gave me this tea, because he's been obsessed with Courtney for forever, apparently. And apparently this was like, it was about silly things, like, oh, the fair is having a sale, or I don't know. But Krista was like dressing Courtney up all sexy at like 12, at such a young age. But this Krista's like, oh, we don't want to talk about the Courtney Stodden talk show. They do the Dorit time lapse of Krista talking about all the things she did to make the talk show happen, like dealing with the guys at the station. Like, I'm not letting you guys use my equipment to stores to pick out different set. They're like, oh, Jessica and Josie are now laughing about the ridiculous. It's going on, and it's so off topic, and it's so not the point. But then Krista goes, I don't appreciate the laughing. And Dr. Deb is like, let's just say you feel taken for granted for helping her at the beginning of her career. We have to move on because this is, again, though, as a therapist, it's like, this is something bigger than your basic mother-daughter dynamic. Something seems to be wrong with Krista. Like, come on. Kim and Kimberly are like, we don't have any times we were taken for granted. You're so giving and loving all the time. And once again, Dr. Deb goes, impossible. And asks Kim if she's ever, and I think she did this, Dr. Deb, I'm going to give her one bit of credit here. She did this, she used this angle to get Kim to open up because it makes Kim get to live in her victimhood. So she asks Kim, have you ever felt taken for granted when you call Kimberly and Kimberly says she's not in the mood? I'm gonna say I don't think Deb was thinking that is even worthy of a resentment, but she knew that would make Kim be like, well, yeah, I know if I know, like, yeah, it doesn't make me feel good. I feel taken for granted. Kimberly then says, well, if I know that you're actually like in a good place where you don't need anything and you're okay, I sometimes feel like I can just, like leave you there and I can kind of like be free to live my life. And Dr. Deb is like, and there it is. And Kim looks pissed. Kim's like, you're not. I don't think Kimberly's ever said these things to Kim, ever, ever. Because Kim is like this, or it was like, don't say those things before they went into filming this. Don't say those things. I don't know. Now, the next exercise Dr. Deb traumatizes these people with is not a new exercise for Bravo fans because we all remember the retreat Shannon and David did where one of them had to pretend to die, like Shannon, right? Or did they both have to pretend to die? This is Char's number one fear. Char, like, if anyone has a number one fear, this is Char's, and that's allowed. And it's like, I don't know if it's even a good exercise for someone who already is afraid of that and is operating from a place of, I don't want to be standing over your grave. Because then the exercise like ceases to be meaningful. It's usually better to be done if someone like doesn't appreciate that person. For example, like Natalie. When Natalie does it and her mom is the one in the grave, it's like, oh, this makes sense because Natalie does take her mom for granted. But for Char, this is just truly traumatizing. Char starts breaking the fuck down. And are you okay? And they're like, all of them are like, no, they're not okay. She's not okay. Also, Natalie Nunn's mom, Karen, she just died. Her grandma just died. Karen's mom just died. But then Kim puts her foot down and says she is not going to a cemetery because the spirits get on you. Kim starts demanding, get Kimberly, we're going home. And this turns into a whole thing. Dr. Deb has to go in there and talk to Kim. And you know what it reminds me of? When Kim had to bring the bunny because she doesn't believe in the energy and doesn't want the bad energy. And she's really weird with energy. And Kyle is like, no, actually, like, this is a thing. Like, please, please, God, this is a thing. I swear. Kim cannot go. Dr. Deb does say, like, Kim's number one fear is seeing her mom's headstone. Kim can't go near a spiritual ground. I cannot go near a spiritual ground. I believe Kimberly is an old soul. I'm not going to have her going anywhere near spiritual ground. It's just not happening. I'm not putting my daughter through it. And Dr. Deb's like, your daughter's fine. This is you that's not fine. Your daughter is totally fine with it. A lot of convincing actually does work, which is impressive. So Natalie goes up first and she's a mess. Sobbing hysterically, I take you for granted, blah, 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 blah. When Kimberly goes, the person who's in the grave is watching the whole thing. She is saying that Kim is her whole life and that this has been her number one fear her whole life. And Kim, back in like the monitor area, makes a face like, that's not what I want to hear. And in Kim's interview, she says she worries about me. And last year I hit a bump in the road for myself. And then that gave her something else to worry about. And that makes me feel sad. Kimberly cries and says, I can't imagine living without you. And then they bring the other person out. Like, so whoever was dead gets to come out. And Kimberly's like, this is why I want you to be healthy. So nothing gets you here. Kim's like, I will do everything I can to prevent this. And Dr. Deb is doing her little like wrap up, like there's a lot to change. This is going to change a lot in this experience. Da-da-da-da-da. And as Kim and Kimberly are walking off, Kim says, all of a sudden you're this child that's been taking care of me your whole life. And Kimberly goes, that's not true. And then Kim's interview, she's like, yeah, I had a bump in the road, but the majority of her life wasn't that way. But then they're back in and that's bullshit because according to Kimberly, that's not. Kimberly's like, yes, since I was little. And I know you don't want to admit that to yourself, which is crazy. But yes, this is the denial that Kim lives in. This is what always kind of drove me nuts about Kim. Because then they get in the car going back to the house and it's all in just voiceover because there's just audio. Apparently there's no camera in the van. And Kim is saying, all of a sudden, it's like, you've been afraid I'm going to die your whole life. And Kimberly going, who cares? And Kim goes, I do. I have a life to continue on with, and I'd like to walk down the street with my head high for once. And Kimberly goes, you should have your head high always. And Kim, well, I don't. And Kimberly goes, everybody worries about their mom. I'm sorry, that's true. And Kim goes, just stop, Kimberly. And Kimberly, I just feel so bad for her. She's like, I'm not doing anything fucking wrong. And Kim goes, I want to go home now. That's how I feel. You're so worried about, she says this to her daughter, which is nuts. You're so worried about yourself. I'm worried about walking down the goddamn street. And it really reminded me of, you stole my goddamn house. The parallels between the Kim Kyle and Kim Kimberly relationship is very interesting to me. Kimberly has been taking care of her mom, but can't ever say anything about it and like admit that that's what's happened and that's the dynamic. But a blind person can see the dynamic because you don't want to make Kim mad at you. That is very codependent, very, very, very classic codependent behavior. But this continues. They get back to the house and Kimberly is like, so I said I was worried about you. So what? And now they're in the room and Kim wants to leave. And Kimberly says, we've done this thing. And this is it's so deep. She goes, we've done this thing where we hide, we shove, we hide, we don't talk. I can't do that anymore. Oh, it's so true. It's so true. Just because we have a history too from Beverly Hills, like we've seen it. And Kim goes, we need to get our own therapist. And while I do agree with you, Kim, that Dr. Deb is no therapist I would want, Kimberly really wants to stay. Excuse me. But Kim does end up saying, everything you said was right. You said nothing wrong. And Kimberly goes, but why do I feel like you're mad at me? And Kim just, we should go. And Kimberly, no, I'm not leaving. I rushed my finals. I've done everything to be here. And now I'm here. I'm not going. I will not go. It's pretty incredible. I genuinely think this is true. Because, by the way, this scene is happening. We're only getting the like surveillance camera that's in the rooms, because if a camera had come into this room, they would have shut this whole thing down. Josie shows up to Jessica's grave now we're back. The grave stuff is still happening. This exercise must take them out. Like this is like what they did all day into the night. Like, oh my God, what a pain in the ass. But Josie shows up to Jessica's grave in high stilettos, a skirt with a slit, hair incredible. And Jessica is watching and goes, well, at least she looks good to my funeral, because she looked good. She looked real good. But Josie is so traumatized by this. She's having such a hard time. She's crying and she's saying, I'm sorry, whatever. But she's also like, I can't even look at this. But Dr. Deb comes in and he goes, is there one last thing you want to say? And Josie's like, I don't even want to look at this anymore. Dr. Deb's like, we didn't really get that. Can you cheat out more towards the camera when you say that? Dr. Deb is all about the TV, okay? No shock. Shar has a total meltdown. But then there's Dr. Deb. Look at the grave. Look at it. No, look at it, Shar. You must look at it. I'm like, what is wrong with you? This is only beneficial for people who are taking people for granted in their lives and they can see what it's like to lose them. You are really traumatizing her. But this actually does a lot for Cassie, which I was surprised about. Because she comes out of it, she's like, it just really showed me I don't want to take the little things for granted anymore. And whatever. I'm like, well, at least someone got something out of it, because Shar is going to have to go to therapy for this exercise. Back at the house, though, Kim is still wanting to leave. They keep kind of cutting back to that. Then they go back out to the graves. It's nighttime now. It's probably so cold. Krista actually cries. And I think because the expectation is so low, Courtney's like, well, I think she seems sad. My mom, I think. But this isn't one exercise isn't going to fix anything. I'll tell you that much. Heidi is a puddle of tears. And honestly, this was like Heidi's best work. It was such an amazing. She's like, I'm just so self-involved and I had so much going on and I was so confused. I never wanted this to happen. I was like, oh, Darlene loves it. It's heartbreaking, but like Darlene is like, oh, I love it. So like, I don't blame her actually. And they had this great moment. They hug. And I was like, oh, yeah, totally traumatized Heidi. Not hard to do, but worth it in this scenario. Now that everyone is back at the house, most of them are all happy, but Kim is still pacing her room and wanting to go. Kimberly goes in there and she goes, please stop being mean to me. And she cries and says, like, why do I feel like I did something wrong? It's very Kim and Kyle. Very Kim and Kyle. It reminds me of the poker night when Kyle doesn't know what she did wrong and Kim's like, you know what you did. You know what you did. And Brandy's like, get away from her. That's the dynamic. It also reminds me too, when Kyle has her gay mixer and Kim brings Brandy, even though Kyle and Brandy were not cool. It's the same when Kyle is like pleading with Kim to talk to her, but Kim won't say why she's upset, and it just very much felt like this same dynamic that we're seeing with Kim and Kimberly in this moment. And Kim goes, this very manipulative Kim. Oh, she goes, we just don't have what I thought we had. And Kimberly's like, but nothing happened. And Kim goes, I don't feel we are what we were. I'm very confused. And Kimberly's like, just stop being like this. Kim goes, I feel like my relationship is destroyed with you. I'm leaving. Kimberly goes, you were the worst, honestly. Kim walks over to a mirror, checks her hair, and Kimberly is crying. Yeah, anyway, it's sad. I feel really bad for Kimberly. They sit for dinner. Dr. Jeb joins, but Kimberly is there without Kim because Kim is in the room. And I'm like, just start the dinner. She's not coming to dinner. Why are you guys waiting for her? Like, what the fuck? You can't go bring her a meal? I'm sure she can figure out a way to eat, guys. But so Kimberly, it's all still very codependent because what does Dr. Deb do? Dr. Deb goes, Kimberly, why don't you go check to see if your mom's coming? I'm like, no, that's not what you do. Because I'm sure this is a constant for Kimberly, having to go clean up after her mom's mess and like feel responsible. Like when Kyle's trying to get Kim out of the house when Kim was late and she's like, we're being rude. Please, you're being rude. We have to go back out there. Now Kimberly's probably in the same thing. So Dr. Deb's like, can you go get your mom? I'm like, no, bitch, get up and go get her. You go get her. Why are you not going to check on Kim? You know she's upset from the exercise. What the fuck? Maybe Kim said I will not speak to her. I don't know. But I'm like, this doctor. Kimberly goes in to tell Kim they're holding the dinner for you. And Kim's like, I don't care. I'm going to go. And Kimberly it's like she's triggered right back to all the old patterns of behavior. She's like, they're literally holding the dinner for you. You need to go say something because I'm not the one that has an issue. And Kim, this is classic. She goes, I don't want such a scene. Everything is such a scene because of me. Always because of me. And I don't know what the editors did here, but then the next thing I know, Kim decides to go to dinner. And I'm like, was that the end of that? Was that it? She said that and then they went to the dinner. The editing is just, they're like, you don't need the important part, right? No? Cool. Natalie is getting drunk. And Courtney is totally egging her on. So now dinner's done. Kim goes into Jessica and Josie's room. And in the hall is Natalie, Shar, Krista, Courtney, and Karen. The hallway people are listening to the convo in the room. And Kim actually just says something about her sister, Kathy. And then Natalie outside in the hallway goes, did I just hear my name? And Courtney goes, yeah, I did. I think Kim is talking shit about you. Well, that's all it takes. Because Natalie literally kicks the door in. One thing we're not going to do, don't say my fucking name unless I'm in your room. And that's the end of this episode. We'll get to episode 4 next time. But like, that's why this show is just mind-blowing to me. But I'm, as much as Kim is to me like problematic, there's all these issues with Kimberly. She is still just amazing reality TV. Even though she's holding back and she's not like giving everything, the way Kim handles Natalie and Heidi is chef's kiss reality television. That's what makes the Richard sisters so fascinating is because like they're so flawed, but so intriguing to me. And to a lot of people, like the Richard sisters, I'm just like, God, if all three of you would do a season of something, I'm watching it because the big Kathy dynamic that has, gone generations now is just mesmerizing. All right. So next time we'll do episode 4. If you guys didn't know, I keep forgetting to pitch this. I am doing a live show on August 23rd in person at Hotel Cafe that is in LA. So if you're not in LA, no worries. We are working on getting some pay-per-view tickets. I was actually finishing up a live on this past Sunday with Kendrick, and someone, I can't remember who it was in the chat, but someone wrote, "I'll buy pay-per-view live streaming tickets." And I was like, oh my God, why did we not think of that? So we're working on getting that out. Thank you to whoever that was that commented that, because I don't know why we hadn't thought of it. Idiots. Anyways, I hope you guys are good. I hope you are enjoying this and not too traumatized. And justice for Courtney Stodden, always. And love you. Mean it. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to She's Speaking with Emily Hanks. This show is produced, hosted, and edited by me, Emily, and brought to you in partnership with Cloud 10 Media. If you are looking for bonus content, check out the Patreon. The link is in the description. To show some support, you can hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Another free way to support the pod, please rate and/or review on whatever platform you listen. It's free, and it helps the algorithm or something. You can also head to buymeacoffee.com/shespeaks and buy me a coffee or two. Make sure you're following me on all social medias. I am She's Speaking with Emily Hanks across all platforms: Threads, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. That's it. Thank you guys. See you soon.